So I always advise, if you want to start mixing your job or your song, you have to listen to the song properly, criticize it, then start fixing it. And by fixing it, that's when you have to start with the mixing, doing some compression, some EQ, then adding a reverb and the rest of them. So I want to first of all talk about panning here. So we have different types of panning. You can do an LC arrow panning, which is left, center, or right, full panning on your instruments. Or you can leave them without panning them. Just do a stereo separation. You can turn to the right for stereo, or you can go to the left for mono. So as you can see here around this point, I've done that for some of the instruments. So the difference between stereo and mono is stereo is like wide and mono is a single instrument. So as you can see, this is the vocals. I've routed all the vocals into this group. The main vocals, I've routed them into this group, and the backup vocal, just like I showed you in the previous video I sent you. And this is all vocals in case I want to drop down all the vocals just to mix the beat a little bit. So as you can see the beats here, I didn't add any EQ because these sounds are already processed. So if you're now adding an EQ or some other effect, it means you're over processing it because they are processed already before they are put into the plugin. So you do some things for some reasons. Let's say you don't like the way the high part of the instrument sounds, then you can add an EQ, then kill the high. So what matters most is your ears and how you make use of them. So the best way for you to listen to stuff is by closing your eyes, because if you're looking at stuff and you're listening, seeing the stuff is going to affect the way you're hearing them. So for better listening, you can close your eyes and listen to this instrument and detect what you want to fix in the instrument. So as you can see here, I've done the volume adjustment for the ones that are too loud, then also the vocals. So the way I normally do my vocals, you know, some people add auto tune on the main on the group of all the vocals, but what I do, I add them individually because all vocals don't sound the same, and I want to control the amount of auto tune I'm sending to each of the vocals. So as you can see here, I've routed them just like I showed you before. Then I've also created a reverb and also a delay. I added an EQ on the reverb to kill the low part of the reverb. So on the main vocals, so this is the effect I have added. So as you know, your EQ is very important. I always do this for my EQ because it gives me a certain point unless I want to do something different. So your compression matters a lot. So I'm going to be showing you some techniques about compressing vocals on the next tutorial. So this is Saturn. You can copy my chain if you like it. So these are the most important things: the EQ, compression, then DSR. These three are the most important. Unless you want to go further, you don't have to put so many effects on your vocal, because once you put so many effects, you're going to change the way the vocal is going to sound because you're going to be over processing. So these are the most important thing: your EQ, compression, and your DSR. Then the reverb, this is going to give it a space. Let me just play the vocal. I'm gonna die for your matter. The way you kill about a man like me for your matter. Tell me why you find like this, oh. Yeah, tell me why you find like this, oh, yeah. You are one of a kind and you done. So if I should remove the effects I have added on these vocals, this is what it's gonna sound like. I no go die for your matter.
The way you kill about a man like me for your matter.
With the effects, this is what it sounds like.
I no go die for your matter. The way you kill about a man like me for your matter.
So make sure you're not clipping. Always check around here to make sure that you're not past 6 dB if you want to get a perfect and clear mastering. So talking about the vocals, what you can do to have a smooth vocal, a fade in and a fade out. If you don't know how to do it on FL Studio, just double click on the vocals, come over here that says the clicking mode, just select crossfade, and it's gonna add a crossfade for you. You can drag, it's gonna crossfade any part that you think is too harsh. And make sure your backups are balanced. So I was talking about the backups. What is on your backups? If you want to get that steering effect, you have to pan left and right the same amounts. Like if you're panning 50% to the left, you pan 50% to the right, or 40%. So, and the level are going to be the same. One is not going to be louder than the other. So that's why if you can see, this one here is lower than this, because I really need to balance them. And again, don't just use your eyes, use your ears to listen. Then also all your backups, add them to a group so that you can control them from here, from the group if you've created. So once you are done with mixing your vocal, checking the levels of your beats, if you can hear your lyrics properly, you don't need to add any effects on the master. Just export it and do your mastering. And one more thing I want to say, before you start mixing, always turn off the limiter. Turn it off, because it's gonna trick you. You think that the stuffs are loud, but it's just the limiter that brought them up. So turn it off here before you start mixing. And once you're done mixing, don't master like this. First of all, export your project before you start your mastering process. So that's it.